It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing next to the river with new winter hours. Head over to joeskarting.com, again, karting with a K, for an updated list of hours of operation. And you can also check out some the schedules for the holiday season. Make sure you head over to joeskarting.com. Newly renovated and easy to navigate. joeskarting.com. Easy to navigate. That's kind of a tough thing some days in these websites. Oh, they get to be such a pain in the butt, but I really love Joe's layout. They did a great job redesigning that site.
Yeah, one of these days they'll come up with GPS for the website.
While we are ready to kick off today's show, we have a big show lined up for you. In turn number 2, we are going to break down the tentative 2016 race schedule for I-80 Speedway. A couple of big shows making their return and a couple of new big shows making their debut at I-80 Speedway for 2016. And if I know Joe and Steve and everybody over at I-80 Speedway, they still got a couple more cards up their sleeve that they're waiting to announce. So we'll talk about what they have announced so far as the tentative schedule is concerned. And then in turn number 3, we are going to continue the Legends of the Dirt series brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts. Week number 2 will feature Dale McDowell, so make sure you tune in for turns 3 and 4 as we will continue our Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt series. We had a couple of minutes here in turn number 1 as we kind of poke around the world of NASCAR and talk about a little bit of news and notes. Sad story in the world of NASCAR. The Miss Coors Light program has been discontinued.
I didn't read the article. I did see it over there posted, but I haven't read it yet, so I don't know if they're discontinuing the Coors Light Pole Award and switching maybe to another sponsor or the pretty girl.
Here's the post. Quote, I am sure many of you have heard about the recent SAB Miller-Coors merger. That's the Budweiser and Miller coming together for like $100 and some billion merger as they attempt to stop the bleeding in the draft beer market, the domestic beer market, as the craft beer market dives into their share. Anyways, she continues to say, I had prayed that things would remotely stay the same within the company. In fact, we already had a 2016 contract drawn up and photo shoot for next season. POS, point of sales, and my fire suit just arrived. I'm sad to announce that Coors Light is going through a rebranding budget cut phase, and they had to make a last-second decision. There will no longer be a Miss Coors Light program within the sport of NASCAR. To answer your question, I don't know.
Exactly.
I can tell you she's not going to be there, which is very unfortunate. My hope is that they do end up going with a different sponsor as far as the rebranding is concerned, only because I certainly enjoyed seeing her at the track.
Well, she was a pretty gal, and we talked to her there for just a few minutes at Kansas, and she was a good ambassador for the sport. What
a great job for her, and I'm sure she's just as upset as I am that she won't be at the track next year.
It is a job, and
yep.
But it's not like she's out digging ditches.
Right. Next news note, I always love seeing this. The study that comes out from Joyce Julius, a company that tracks media mentions for sports sponsors, says that Kevin Harvick was the most mentioned NASCAR driver on the TV this year, the same position he held last season, while Hamlin had the most interview time. Sprint Cup Series champion Kyle Busch was 12th most mentioned, and we can obviously say that was because of his 10-race hiatus as he was healing up from the accident at Daytona during the Xfinity Series. 35 minutes of total interview time for Kevin Harvick. He had 42 interviews, just shy of 5,000 mentions. He was at 4,937, by far the most. Joey Logano had 2 seconds more interview time than Kevin Harvick did. Harvick would have got a couple of more sponsors in there. He could have swept the field.
Well, or if he would have spun out Matt Kenseth in the chase.
But you see, these are the numbers that, and you may be asking yourself, why is this something I even really care about? What does this have to do with the price of tea in China? Is that these are the numbers that sponsors look at.
Absolutely.
When we go back and talk about, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, Kyle Busch was the most mentioned driver that year, according to this same company that put out this information. And then through a Forbes magazine article, Mars Company released that they received 4 times the return, the ROI, the return on investment for the number 18 car and their sponsorship at Joe Gibbs Racing, which meant if they spent $25 million, they made $100 million back that they could track directly to NASCAR. Not to any other sporting event, directly to NASCAR. And that's a big deal for guys like Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, and Jimmy Johnson that are looking to renew their contracts with their sponsors, because Kevin can go and say, 2 years in a row, I was the most interviewed and the most mentioned driver out there, which means that you're getting the most amount of sponsorship dollars you can possibly get. These guys don't pay per exposure. They pay a flat fee. And if they're running up front constantly like Kevin and Joey and Jimmy and Brad and Dale and Jeff are, they're getting their money out of it.
Well, and I'm sure they've actually got a number that is a pay per exposure number.
Yeah.
You know, we know that, I'm going to be talked to a lot. So that's not going to cost you a nickel every time I get talked to. It's going to cost you a quarter.
Right. It's going to be a flat fee for you. And this also is something that can translate down into the dirt world, that you guys that are always out there looking for sponsors, every time you see that pit reporter walking around, shake him down for an interview. Every time you're in victory lane or you're anywhere close to victory lane, shake somebody down for an interview. It's that kind of stuff that, coming from my world, is huge for sponsors, that they want their name out there and they want their name mentioned and their product pushed. So, end of spiel.
And that's the type of exposure that you're trying to give them. When you go talk to those sponsors, it's not only, hey, give me $1,000 and I'll put your name on the side of my car. Mm-hmm. It's, hey, I'll bring the car out to your business, and when you have your company picnic, and
yep.
I'll
do appearances out there. I'll do autograph signings. I'll get you tickets to the races.
All your employees' kids can sit in it and get their picture taken with me.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it happens to be. See if you can work with the promoter at your local track and see about having a corporate night if the business is big enough, to where maybe the promoter will let 50 people in. And believe me, these promoters will do this type of stuff. They'll let 50 people in because they know they're each going to spend $15 at the concession stand. So they'll let them in for nothing.
Moving on, several NASCAR drivers were in attendance at the Snowball Derby, and once again, we had a driver that won it and was disqualified. Cape and World Truck Series driver Christopher Bell won the 48th annual Snowball Derby in Pensacola, Florida. Less than 30 minutes later, he was disqualified. Help me out with this. Post-race technical infraction at the Five Flags Speedway found that his Kyle Busch Motorsports Toyota was over the limit on left side weight. I thought that there was one weight that brought it all out to the same balance. There's left and right side?
And that's in a late model.
Mm-hmm.
So more than likely, they've probably got a front to rear number, too, that they have to stay within. But, yeah, late models on asphalt tracks, I mean, you could run 70% left weight, and it'd just be like you had the car on a string going through the corners. So they probably have a number. And, again, I've never teched those, so I'm going to say it's probably an upper 50s%.
Okay.
Maybe 55, 57%, something like that. And it wouldn't be real hard to get over on that. But if they made some adjustments during the race somewhere, my guess is it was probably wrong when they rolled off, on the starting grid.
Yeah. So Chase Elliott ends up claiming his second Snowball Derby championship. Oddly enough, Elliott was initially declared the winner in 2013, only to be disqualified in a post-race inspection again. So Elliott has felt the sting of having his Snowball Derby championship title taken away, only to have it given to the second placeman. Now he's getting the better end of that. So he finished second, but because of the disqualification for Christopher Bell, he moves on and wins the race.
What goes around comes around.
Kevin Harvick is your odds-on favorite to win the 2016 Sprint Cup Championship, despite the fact that Kyle Busch won it this year with the format, and very deservingly won it, in my opinion. Kevin Harvick seems to be the odds-on favorite. Who do you have going hands down just early into the season?
I always, since Jimmy Johnson's come along, I think repeat champions, are definitely going to be something everybody's got to look at. I mean, Harvick almost repeated, came just one spot away.
Yep.
And
who do you got though? Who do you? I mean, if you were to put,
I just said
put
Kyle
money
Busch.
In
Weren't you listening?
No, you didn't say Kyle Busch.
Yes, I did.
Oh, I wasn't
said
listening.
Champion repeating.
Oh. I think.
But with the new rules for the mile-and-a-half tracks, I think Carl Edwards is definitely going to be very competitive.
Yeah.
I think you are going to see Mr. Kyle Larson get into the mix a lot more this year than he has been in the last 2 seasons.
I certainly hope so. There's so many people out there that just want him to succeed, including me. He's such a nice young man, and I don't say that very often at the ripe old age of 33, but he's, all of 12, 13? But my odds-on favorite, I think I'll call my bookie and put my money down on the 22 of Joey Logano.
Oh.
I think that's going to be that's who I feel 2 years in a row he should have won it.
And you're going to make $1 or $2 bet on the long shot of the 14?
I think so. Imagine that if that wins out. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2, and we will break down the tentative 2016 race schedule for I-80 Speedway. This is a Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Kosiski Auto Parts. Kosiski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kosiski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kosiski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kosiski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the Front Stretch, brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, online at Kosiski.com. Just around the corner, in turn number 3 is going to be, weekend number 2 of the Legends of the Dirt series. We're going to have Dale McDowell joining us on the show. Talk about his career in racing and all the fun stuff, plus a lot of more. That's some good English I've got going on today. Pretty much on par. Pretty much on par for I'm sorry, I thought I heard you say 12-1 there. I'm sorry, I got confused. Bob Hill, Lonnie Jensen.
Hey, we beat the team that beat them.
You know what? That's football logic, by the way. Okay, Nebraska beat Michigan State, so therefore they must be better than Iowa. Even though Iowa beat you heads up, let's forget about that fact.
Hey, if Tommy Armstrong's favorite dessert wasn't turnovers,
right,
Iowa wouldn't have won.
And if
facts are facts.
And wins and losses. It's give us a
the Big Ten conference champion had one loss, and who was it to?
Give us a year. Just give us 1 year, please. Can you do that for me?
Your national championship trophy case is still empty.
I know. We had 1 good year. Just give us 1 good year. That's all I'm asking.
It's all over.
It is. You guys are going to some fluffy throw it. Everyone deserves a trophy bowl, and
I was sure
and we're
hoping
going to
they
the
were
Rose
going
Bowl.
to that Armed Services Bowl because I was going to attend, but I'm not going to San Francisco.
No?
So that's a plane ticket.
That's a fun place to go, though, San Francisco.
That's a plane ticket. I could drive to Texas for 2 tanks of gas.
Well, that's true. Go see the Rockies. Drive past the Rockies on your way to San Francisco.
I'd probably take 4 tanks of gas to get to Frisco each way.
It'd be expensive. Anyways, you're listening to the Front Stretch. Racing news and all sorts of fun stuff. We're also doing a little color commentary here on the football season that was when it came to college. Anyways, like I was saying before that, Shane Carson, Bob Trostel Memorial Show still to come. Daniel Lasowski, Larry Eckrich, Jim Wilson. We're working on Gordy Blankenship. That's kind of still up in the air. Actually, we're not working on Gordy Blankenship. We're working on Clayton Peterson. So we're just trying to get him scheduled to come on the show, and then we'll get that going. So if you want a full list of when all of these shows air, just head over to the Front Stretch Facebook page, and we post to them every week so you can keep up to date with all that fun stuff. In turn number 2, we are going to talk about the I-80 Speedway tentative schedule. They released it earlier this week, and as they always do, it's going to be the Spring Meltdown, kicking it off April 1st and 2nd with MLRA, CBC, Nebraska 360s, and a few more classes left to be announced announced. Then following weekend is going to be the Bug Eater Bash. That's always a big weekend for a lot of local dirt racers. A-mods, B-mods, brag and right late models, stock cars, hobby stocks, and sport compacts. I tell you what, Joe and I had a big conversation a couple of weeks ago about hobby stocks. I love watching those hobby stocks out at I-80 Speedway. Stock cars do a pretty good job too. I'm kind of a fan of those hobby stocks though. Those guys turn out once in a while when they have a one-off show where they're going to offer points and payouts for hobby stocks, and they put on a great show.
Well, when they were running them weekly there 10 years ago, I mean, they never had a monster car count, but they were getting 15 to 17 cars a night. So you didn't have to run a B feature, but you had a couple heats and a feature, and the racing was always good because it just kind of depended on who got to first place, who got the point out of about 3 different cars.
Yeah.
And, which is kind of the way the Stock Car Pro-Ams division is.
Well, and I'm a big fan of that hobby stock division because I think it's a very stout division when you get down into the Denison and Shelby County area. And I know those guys would love to come up and race at I-80 Speedway more often. You've got your Mike Nichols, who's like an 83-time national champion. The guy's just insanely good. You've even got the Maddens and Jason Cole and Jason Fusselman. Those are 2 of my favorite drivers out there. I love watching those guys race. Fusselman didn't have a very good year, but I think he's kind of drawn back on his program, but they bring several stout guys, and I think even Adam Armstrong's in that series that races well with him. I think Adam might be upgrading to a B-mod this year, though.
But your situation there is Denison races the same night as I-80 runs as far as a weekly show, and the people run Denison and Harlan. A few of those Denison guys do go down to Eagle, I know, because Eagle's got a good car count for the hobby stocks.
Hey, did you see that Brett Pugh is not going to be returning as the promoter at Shelby County for 2016?
No, I had not read that.
He's been having some health issues, and the doctor basically said, reduce the stress or buy the coffin. So he said, I'm going to have to turn away from the promoting gig for a while, and so that's a big loss for Shelby County. They really made a rebound season this year. I know there was drivers that were very happy with the way the whole place was officiated, but it's a lot of stress and it's a lot of unneeded pressure when you're to be a promoter like that. I honestly don't know why anybody would want the job.
Well, it's the stress you bring on yourself. I mean, different people handle stress differently. The last occupation I was in, on a regular basis, that's all people said is this job is so stressful. And for me, you weren't curing cancer, so there was no stress. Go stand on pit road at a cup race sometime and try and watch 7 guys come over the wall and change 4 tires and fill it with fuel in 12 seconds and make sure they do it right. That can be a little stress.
You really do begin to appreciate the grief that the NFL officials are getting right now because they have to make that call in a split second. We get to make that call based on 15 different camera angles in slow motion. But anyways, that's not for it. But so a sad thing for Shelby County, but I'm sure they're going to find somebody that's going to take over that role and do a good job as we hope that track continues to recover from having a down couple of years. Continuing with the I-80 Speedway tentative schedule, looks like the weekly points racing is going to kick off on April 22nd and then the 29th with the Race Saver Sprint Series joining the track and joining the weekly points payouts for that Friday the 29th. As we'll see, those guys really turned out last year for some good racing at I-80 Speedway. A question that has been asked a lot in this offseason is what is going to happen with the Nebraska 360 Sprint Series? Towards the end of the season, they were only drawing about 15, 16 cars, as to where the Race Savers that is run by Roger Hayden out there at Eagle Raceway, they were able to draw about 20 to 22, and they kept the numbers up.
Well, the motors are so much different. The Race Saver 305, you don't have near the maintenance, near the wear and tear.
Right.
It's almost in the crate motor type deal, being a spec motor. So you can run a full season on that short block. Where a 360, you can't do that. And if you end up halfway through the season blowing something up or something, you're just going to sit the last few races out. Yeah. That's the way that racing's always been.
What did Dover say that he sent his 360s down to get refreshed? And how many races was it? I think he said it was like every 30 races it would get refreshed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought maybe you said 25, but yeah, that type of number, 25 to 30, and because we were talking about the difference between that and the 410, and the 410's half as many races as that.
Right.
So.
And that was kind of a question with Kosiski. He said that, I think he said it was about, you could get away with going 15, but it's got to be somewhere around 10. and you got to have 2 or 3 of those engines in cycle as they get refreshed. But anyways, and so the Race Saver engines are a lot less. And so it's a real question is what's going to go on with the Nebraska 360s. It's good to see that they're back on the schedule for the Spring Meltdown. They're also on the schedule for a couple of other races later on in the year. So I-80 is going to help support them. Other series are very happy with them. They just got to keep the car numbers up.
Yeah.
And really what's going on with the ASCS 360s and the NSL 360s is really going to dictate how the Nebraska 360 series is going to lay out for the 2016 season. But that's a conversation for a different show as I try to get back on track once again with the I-80 Speedway schedule. A big new race going on May 6th, the I-80 Dirt Classic. It's going to be the NSL 410 Sprints. A lot to be announced with that, but it looks like Joe's trying to create an early season classic for a national touring series.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically exactly what it says. And rolling along, will it ever get up to the Silver Dollar National status?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The NSL is new enough yet that, their purses are solid as far as a 410 Sprint Series goes. But to be able to start putting together a crown jewel type race for them might be a little early, but, he's laying the foundation.
You always got to lay it eventually. A couple of weeks later, after a couple of weekly points nights action on May 24th, another new race. Looks like he's going to start stacking May as some big special events. You got the beginning of May on the 6th is going to be the I-80 Dirt Classic. Then closer to the end of May, on Tuesday the 24th. Now this is a kicker. It's on a Tuesday. Is the a national series. The Lucas Oil late models are going to make their first of 2 appearances this year at I-80 Speedway, as we've only seen them once over the last couple of years. And a lot of people have been asking for that. Said we want to see those Lucas Oil guys back more often.
Well, yeah, but it does have an increased purse, so you got to pick the right spot and hope the weather holds.
And it looks like I can't remember why he was scheduling around that, but there's a lot of big races around that area. That's the reason why he had to put it on a Tuesday. He wasn't just saying, well, let's just try out a Tuesday. It was a scheduling issue that he ran into, but he really wanted this series. He felt like the extra payout would help continue to draw some fans out. So it'll be an early night. Looks like the schedule's to be announced, but on Tuesday night, typically they're going to try to throw the green flag at about 7:05.
Or maybe even 6:30.
Yeah.
It'll be an early one.
Because then they also have to deal with that sun setting over turns 3 and 4, which is a blinder for guys going across the backstretch and into turn 3. So they oftentimes, that's why sometimes when you're sitting out I-80 and you're like, what are we doing here?
What are we waiting for?
Well, we're literally waiting for the sun to set.
Yep.
So that way we can get to racing. But so then the Charlie Clark Memorial, easily, I'm sorry to say this if I said it, buddy, my favorite race of the year. I absolutely love the Charlie Clark Memorial. A-mods, B-mods, hobby stocks, brag and right late models. They do that funky 22-lap feature for the A-mods, and then there's the
pit stop.
The pit stop on the front stretch, and then 22 more laps, and we pay out to see who's the champion. We always see some big heavy hitters there, and we see some amazing racing for the Charlie Clark Memorial. That's going on Sunday, May 29th. That's right before Memorial Day, right?
Right.
That's the
Memorial
Sunday before
Day
Memorial Day, yep. Then the next big race in June, SLS Promotions are bringing back the World of Outlaws along with the Super Late Model Touring Series. Looks like quick time start at 7 o'clock. That's on Wednesday, June 22nd. And then 2 days later, the Alphabet Soup MLRA CBC Mars with the NASCAR B-Mods, stock cars, and sport compacts all going on Friday the 24th. So big weekend, big couple of days in June for you can go see the World of Outlaws on Wednesday, come back a couple days later and see some big racing for the Alphabet Soup race. Which we still have a bunch of autographed Ryan Gustin Alphabet Soup race flyers left too. So we'll have to give those out as the races are getting a little bit closer and get people pumped up for that. July, as always, Thursday, Friday, Saturday show for the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. The 21st on a Thursday is a prelude to the Silver Dollar Nationals, along with the SLMR series and more sanctioning bodies to be attached to that. I think last year they threw on the Nebraska 360s, right? They did the 360s on that Thursday night.
Yes.
And then coming back on Friday, it will be the Silver Dollar Nationals, Lucas Oil Late Model, MLRA, and the USMTS KC Cup Series. Good to see there. I know Joe was a little bit worried that he wasn't going to be able to get that USMTS rescheduled for the Silver Dollar Nationals, which has always been a great second bill to the Lucas Oil Late Models, and it's good to see he was able to get that done.
Well, it's not at every big race like this you get to see 2 national touring series. That's what's one of the things that makes this show unique.
So then you come back on Saturday night, and you've got the Silver Dollar Nationals Championship, $40,000 to win this year.
It's a whole bunch of money.
That's a lot of money. Last year it was 30.
2, I think.
Was it 32? Man, it's a lot of money to win. Can Scott Bloomquist go 3 in a row? I know.
You're all giddy.
You better believe we'll be live on that Sunday morning to do all the recap action, and I'll be sitting in Scott's pits getting plenty of interviews and autographs for you too. So
yeah, and we'll have to get Scott on the show there maybe in the first part of July sometime. And,
that'll be fun.
Him and Rodney, they kind of own the track the last 2 years. So
and maybe we can have him on in early May to promote the Tuesday the 24th show for the Lucas Oil Dirt Series going on. Again, in early May. So looking at August, looks like the big race, we're going to do some weekly points racing throughout the month of August on Friday nights, and then the Speedy Bill Memorial on August 26th. It's on a Friday. 1,004 to win and 104 to start for all classes for the Speedy Bill Memorial.
Yeah, that's basically an IMCA type show, with all their classes because Speedway Motors was such a big sponsor for IMCA. Mm-hmm. So.
Looking into September, weekly racing action wraps up on Sunday, Sunday, September 4th, as we crown some champions. 2 years in a row, they've gotten rained out, so we'll see if we can get that one in this year. And then on Friday, September 30th, it's the Midwest Fall Brawl makes its return with the Nebraska 360, with 360 sprint cars. That's always been an ASCS show, so we'll see. There's no notation on here if it's ASCS or if it's going to be the National Sprint 360, so we'll have to get some clarification next time we can get Joe on the show. And then the 2-day show continues, so the Midwest Fall Brawl kicks off September 30th and then wraps up on October 1st with 360 sprints again. And then it's the Speedway Motors Cornhusker Classic wrapping up the season Friday, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. A lot of racing to go this year. I'm really excited. Is there one race that kind of sticks out for you on this? It kind of gets your hairs peaked
Silver
up?
Dollars.
That's your...
Yeah. I'm a late model guy.
Are you worried at all about him adding a second Lucas Oil show, maybe detracting a little bit from the Silver Dollar Nationals?
No, because it's not going to have a $40,000 to win purse. It's not a 2-day deal. It'll be a regular one-night show, and it's just another good chance to get to see these big late model drivers, and it's far enough away. It's not like he's doing it 2 weeks apart from the Silver Dollars. There's plenty of time in there, a month earlier or 2 months earlier almost, to enjoy some time off and get to see him come back and see what's changed in that time and see if Jonathan Davenport's still on a hot streak that he got on last year.
And Rodney Sanders, and we'll have to try to talk with. We got a lot of scheduled interviews throughout the year. We'll have to talk with. We're trying to get Jesse Sobbing to see if he's going to make his return to the USMTS or if he's going to go back to local weekly racing action. I know him and his crew chief
Mike Goki.
Mike Goki. They split at the end of last year, so we'll see what's going to happen there. As far as, does he have another crew chief? Is he going to take over the role? What's going to happen with that 99 team, and maybe we'll even get Luke Cochran in here to talk a little bit about what's going on with his team. Jack Dover in the Sprint Car Series, and what Jack said that he's going to go with the NSL 360s because if they do the same thing like they've done with the 410s, he's all about it because they've got a fantastic job. They've done a fantastic job of points payouts, contingency awards, and a nice schedule too.
So he said, Jack said plain and simple, he's got to chase the money.
Yeah, and what was it, $1,000 for him to drop the tailgate every time he went racing. Just flat out, doesn't matter where I finish. It doesn't even matter if I start the race. It's $1,000.
Yep.
Hauling it there, prepping it up, crew, pit
passes,
passes,
that's
food.
an average because, there's some races where he breaks and has to buy new parts and stuff like that. But, he just figures if he's going to race 20 nights, just his expenses are going to be a minimum of $20,000.
A full list of dates are available on I-80 Speedway.com. The 2016 tentative schedule is released. A lot of your regular big races, the Spring Meltdown, the Bug Eater Bash, the Charlie Clark Memorial, Alphabet Soup, Silver Dollar Nationals, the Speedy Bill Memorial, Midwest Fall Brawl, and the Speedway Motors Cornhusker Classic, along with a couple of new races, the I-80 Dirt Classic and the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series, both those happening in May. And then I forgot to mention the SLS World of Outlaws race will come back along with the SLMR Series. So that's the way that rolls out. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back in turn number 3. We'll kick off the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series. Week number 2, we're going to feature Dale McDowell. So make sure to stick around for that. That's coming up next on The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if your love rings and all kinds of other tempting things. Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 3, it's time for the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series. Tonight we're talking to Dale McDowell for the Legends of the Dirt Series. Dale, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How you guys?
Oh, we are just
great.
Yeah, we're having fun. Lee Ackerman in the studio. My co-host Dirk Houston in studio with us, and we're going to talk a little bit about Mac Daddy's career. That nickname, was that kind of a given with the McDowell?
Well, it actually come probably mid-'90s. Several of us was driving GRT cars, and I was teammates with Wendell Wallace, and so Bill Fry was running the house car GRT at that time, and Clint Smith was there. So Joe Garrison actually gave me the nickname. It was Bill Fry was Fry Daddy, and then Clint, they called him Cat Daddy, and then I ended up Mac Daddy.
Yeah,
So I don't know how it came about, but that's who gave it to me.
to me, Billy Fry would have been Mac Daddy. He would have been the one to carry that.
They called him Fry Daddy. So I don't know. Garrison did all that, so I don't really know.
Was he a big fried chicken or fried fish fan? Was that maybe it? Or?
I don't know. It could have happened late night over a drink or something. I have no clue.
There's a lot that's happened late night over a drink that's been good stories for. Well, you were born in a small town in Georgia, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because it looks like it's half of a sneeze. So what happened in that small town that got you exposed to dirt racing?
Well, actually, my dad raced when I was a kid. So from the time I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I was out in the shop, tinkering and learning. And we didn't have cell phones or anything back then, so I had a lot of time to work on race cars. And actually started racing when I was 14. And we're fortunate in this area. Chickamauga is actually how you say it. But we're fortunate. It's right. Thank you. It's right next to Chattanooga, Tennessee. I mean, my shop's actually in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But we're real fortunate right here. We've got about within a 2-hour radius. We've probably got 10 or 11 racetracks, and
that'll work.
That's good. It's good on the learning side of it. What happened was after that, when you start traveling a little bit, there's so much racing around local that you don't get out and travel as much. But anyway, I started racing when I was 14 at a local track here at Cleveland Speedway, which is just about 20 minutes from us. And then the other track that I ran when I was that young, when I first started, was Boyd Speedway, and now I own half of it. So it's actually kind of coming full circle. So we've been out the racetrack today working, and so I've been doing it since I was young, and just through all the different trials and tribulations of it, we've made it this far.
When you talk about getting started when you were young, do you think there was any other direction you could have gone with your life? Maybe a teacher or a mechanic, I don't know, anything other? Was it always going to be dirt racing?
No, not really. Dirt racing was a hobby, and my dad did it as a hobby. He owned a small construction company, so we had dump trucks and backhoes and excavators and heavy equipment, and so I had to learn that first. He put me in the shop, servicing and maintenance and equipment and doing that stuff, and then after we got finished with all that, then we could work on race cars after hours. So I actually, before I started racing for a living, I was in the construction business. And then after I started, probably 90, probably 94, 95, we started, there was enough series stuff in this area with all the racetracks and all the different series, and really late model dirt racing was booming at that time. And so I just started going out and chasing some of these races, and started to gaining a little bit of success, and then had the opportunity to drive for a couple of people, and after that, and that's when I decided to try to make it and do it for a living.
What was your progression up to the late model class? Did you start in like bombers or karts or mini sprints, or how did you get up to late models?
I started in what they call around here a hobby stock class, which is basically a clip car, like Camaro clip, a lot of like the modifieds, except they were full body. And I ran 2 years in that, and then I went straight to the late model. And it was complete accident, but I won my first late model race. It was a day race, and I was so nervous and so scared that I was so careful that I ended up running fast because it was dry slick. But anyway, we started out in late model there, and like I said, I raced around here, within these couple hours or all these racetracks around here, and then finally, probably mid-'90s, I got to where I was traveling a little bit more, and that was a huge learning curve for me because all these racetracks around here are similar, and so when you start getting out, into different configurated racetracks, then you go through another big learning curve, and so you try to figure it out, those races that you don't make, and you load up that night and you come home and you're trying to figure out what you did wrong, and so it was definitely a challenge, and it still is a challenge. That's what makes it so. That's why it's so addictive, is because it's challenging.
Well, you must have learned pretty quick, Dale, because I remember I was fortunate to do a lot of traveling in the late 90s. In 1999, you won the Have a Tampa Series, which was the national series at that time, and the competition was pretty ferocious.
Well, it really, I got out on the road, and it was, it was sink or swim, and so we had my brother and I, went out on the road, and we had some success there, after we, after we come home with our tails touched a good bit, but we started having some success, and it's actually been good to us, it's opened up a lot of avenues, for things that I do today, and I still like to race as much as I can, but I've got some other things going, and so I've been very fortunate. I've met a lot of good people, and I've had a lot of people. Wouldn't be here, my brother or I, either one would be here without the support and sponsors and stuff that we've had along the way. It's credit to them for us to be able to make it as long as we have.
Did your dad have a big effect on your racing career, or did he just kind of expose you to it?
He did, but his teaching methods were a little different than today's kids. Like then, if I wanted to work on it, he would work on it as long as I worked on it. Mm-hmm. But there was no him getting my car ready, and him doing any of that. He just that wasn't him, and so he raced, and we actually raced against each other a little bit before he quit. In the probably early 90s. So he did. He taught me. At the point in time, I thought he was a little rough on me on some things because he would make me do it. Later on, I appreciated that.
Right.
It's just it's a different way of doing things, and but he did. He had a huge effect on what I wanted to do, and basically introduced me to it. And but I would work in the shop after those guys would, after he would go in the house or do whatever, and I would stay out in the shop and work for hours. So they made me come in to go to bed for school the next morning. So it's always been a passion, and and my brother, he's 7.5 years younger than me, and so as he came along about the time getting out traveling, the timing was right, and our relationship has just been really he fits the bill on everything that he does as far as maintenance and crew chief wise, and pays attention to small detail, and I mean that's why he's working where he's at today at RCR or TDR, running the development shop for Richard Childress and Austin Ty Dillon. He's over there over that program, but it was just a good fit. It was a good fit for us, and and so we were very fortunate. Went on the road and had some success, and so it's just kind of evolved from there.
Did your parents ever use racing as a carrot to get you to get your homework done or to get certain grades or that kind of that kind of stuff?
Always.
Yeah.
Always, yeah. So some of the worst times, or my worst time, I guess my biggest lessons learned is they would make me leave my car at home and go to the races and watch.
Oh.
With my dad. So if I didn't get something done or had a bad grade or something, then that was the tool. That was the tool that they took away. I think now kids get to lose their cell phones and things like that, and they think it's the end of the world. But
yeah.
at that point in time, it was that. But it made me. It helped my work ethic, I think, as far as what we did for a living with the construction stuff. And that stuff you had to. It was maintenance all the time with trucks and that equipment, and so that carried over into the racing, as well. So, but definitely, I wouldn't trade, the time. My lessons learned they were invaluable. It's just it's unbelievable, how much it carried over.
Were you any kind of a superstitious driver?
Yeah, we did have superstition. My dad was always a black cat. He would turn around. He wouldn't even do the X's on the windshield. So if he crossed a gap with black cat, couldn't have green. I've not been that into it as much. No peanuts at the racetrack. I think a lot of Southern things that went on with a lot of the Southern racers that carried over, but I've not really been that bad. Every now and then, it does cross my mind. Just I hear my dad coming back when a black cat runs in front of me or something. It makes me want to turn around and wait till another car crosses his path first or something. But
did you ever?
But not terribly bad.
Did you ever go through a bad streak and then try to do something to shake up your luck? Sometimes you see, like I'm a big fan of the show Deadliest Catch on Discovery Channel, and these guys will have a bad start to the season, so the entire crew will shave their head and their fortunes will turn around. Did you ever do anything like that?
No, I really haven't. We've talked about it. We've talked about doing a lot of things to change our luck, but it seems like you just got to run a cycle. We've parked different ways and done little things like that, and but that's as far as it's been. I really haven't. I haven't been that anal about it. Never
painted the wheels pink or white or anything like that. Just
never done that. No.
That was always
I'm not guilty of that.
There's always a big joke up here locally. If one of the guys went out and won with pink wheels, you'd have 50 cars on the track the next week with pink wheels. So
that was the reason.
Dale, was it hard?
I did tie a monkey in my car one time to get the monkey off my back. I did do that.
There you go.
Yeah, I did do that.
Dale, was it hard to take a loss? Certain races were, and the reason I say this, I remember 1999 Rome, Georgia, 75-lap Havre-Tampa race. Dale McDowell's a half a lap ahead of everybody. They throw the white flag and your rear tire blows.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Earl Pearson won the race. Was that tough for you to have those kind of things happen when you knew you had the race in the bag?
Yes, it always is. That's when we do these driving schools and programs now, I tell these guys, I'm like, nothing ever goes wrong when you're running back there in the back and you're really just, you wish something would break or have a flat or give you some kind of reason to pull in. I said, it never happens then. It always happens when you're running well. But it does. It really doesn't affect you. As I look back on it, it didn't affect me as much younger as it does now. Now when I go to these places, as I'm getting a little older, I'm like, God, I'm not going to be back here but 3 or 4 more times. I needed to make that count, But But anyway, it's really it really knocks the wind out of you when you do that. Financially, if like we were then, we were paying our own bills and running on a tight budget, so the financial bill stung more than anything. But it does happen.
Well, that leads to another question. What's worse when you don't win a race, not getting the win or not getting the purse?
Probably the win. Back then, it was both. The purse was so important, to make it all go full circle. Now, unfortunately, and I drive for TDR, and so I'm not worried about the bills as much, as I was then when I owned everything, and so I mean it's a different deal, it's changed a little bit as I think that changes as you get a little older, and and things start. You look at things and value them a little differently.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back in turn number 4. We'll wrap up our Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series with Mac Daddy, Dale McDowell. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Just about ready to wrap her up. Heading into turn number 4, the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series rolls on with Dale Mac Daddy McDowell. Dale, you talk about some of your hobbies are riding dirt bikes and motorcycles. For you, anything that goes fast, is that just good old plain fun?
It is. I mean, it's a competition. When you're a racer, it doesn't matter if you go to the local go-kart track or if you go ride dirt bikes or, whatever you're doing. You may be foot racing in the parking lot. You don't know, but it is. It's just the competitive nature of a racer in general. Because that's what happens to us.
Have you ever had any aspirations of moving on up the ladder and being racing on TVs on Sunday or anything like that?
I did when I was younger. I actually ran some ARCA. I actually ran with Joe. Joe Kosiski and I ran some ARCA races together.
Oh, really?
Late 80s, then?
Late 80s, early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s, and I actually had some good runs. Didn't win any, but had some top fives at Atlanta Motor Speedway in Michigan. Michigan was my best finish. We ran second at Michigan. Had some top fives at Daytona and Talladega. And at that point in time, you had to have an in, or someone helping you. And I was very fortunate. Davey Allison and Red Farmer was they're only a couple hours from here, and they helped me do some things. And then Davey got killed in '92, and that just kind of closed the door. Just because I was working with those guys exclusively, and and just really didn't have any other top program to go to after that, and so just kind of went back to dirt racing all the time, and kind of where I've stayed since then.
Yeah, like I said, you had the in with those guys. If you would have had a nice big pocketbook, you could have got an in with anybody else.
That's exactly right. I see that happen a lot today.
Oh, don't you though, man? It's really amazing. I was a tech inspector. I started out with the Dirt Series and used to work the Busch All-Star Tour and the WDRL, and I'd worked up to where I was working the Craftsman Truck Series back then, and I'd work cup races and stuff too. But now, I mean, it's ridiculous. If you've got money, anybody can race. Yes,
it really is. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, the sad part about it is there's a lot of good talent out there these days that the guys don't get a chance, and. So I mean, it's a situation to where a person, and, several years ago when the economy was better, there was money in these cup teams for development programs. And, once the economy it's harder to get sponsors, now you're seeing more of the cup teams that very few of them have the same sponsor throughout the whole schedule. They run them in segments. And so when that started happening, unfortunately, it kind of closed the door on a lot of the development money that was available. And, so I mean, that's the unfortunate part. Maybe it'll get back to that. So it'll give some of these young racers some opportunities to show their talent.
Yeah, we've got a local racer up here that actually ran the ARCA Series here. I don't know. What year was Josh Krug in that ARCA Series? 2008, maybe?
Somewhere around
I think
there.
So, yeah.
And he ran 10th in points, missing one race, in second shift equipment. He didn't have the top-of-the-line stuff, so he's obviously got some talent, but he was never even able to go back there. I mean, his dad basically spent his whole nut on that one season, trying to give his kid a chance. So he's back to running the local dirt and stuff, and he's all right with it. So,
well, I see that in today's world. I mean, a lot of the kids that we work with on the development program, they actually go through the same process as far as they'll actually if their dad spends the amount of money that it takes to do the program, it's just according to how long they can do it, how much money they want to spend.
That's really the unfortunate part, is that you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the coin, you're not going to get very far. And there's exceptions to the rules. Every once in a while, a guy will get noticed, but it's not enough.
Well, it is. I mean, like I said, I see it a lot because we work with a lot of the young talent. And, so those guys just have to be at the right place at the right time. Timing's everything, and the opportunity, if it's out there. I mean, I see a lot of those guys that really have great showings, but, just can't get the money behind them, to continue on. And that's the tough part.
You talk about your favorite track is any track that is raceable. You don't have a more specific favorite track, kind of track you like to race at, or maybe one specific, like maybe Eldora or Knoxville or I-80 Speedway?
Or I-80 Speedway, yeah.
Yeah.
I like those places. I mean, I used to have favorite tracks that we just went to and we run well. And now we've gone to so many. I brag on a place like I-80 and a place like Eldora and Knoxville, Iowa. I brag on those places often simply because they do, these bigger events. They'll do the passing points and they'll invert and invert the heats and do things like that. Well, they've tried to carry that program over to the other racetracks, and that's not as welcoming as that, because if you go to a place like I-80 or Eldora or Knoxville or something like that, you're inverted, you can pass 4 cars in one lap if your car's good.
Yeah.
But some of these other racetracks that we go to, you just can't do that. You'll spend 4 laps trying to pass one car. And, there's good racing at those places too, but really the big, wide racetracks, it's a lot of fun to race on those, but I like to go to the bull rings too now. So, I mean, any place that we go that you're able to pass and, really be versatile, groove-wise, placement on the racetrack, I like. So, I mean, I'm not as picky as I used to be.
So what's your most gratifying win of your career?
Oh, man, I've got a couple. The dream last year was pretty big simply because the year that I won the World 100 in 05, I ran second. And I was just fortunate to be in second place, and Shannon Babb actually won the race, and he was light, at the scale. So nobody ever likes to win one that way.
Yeah.
And so when I was able to win there last year, that was really gratifying. Before that, we had the inaugural win at Bristol when they put dirt on Bristol. That was a really big deal for us, and then. The year I won the championship, we won the race at the I-80 Speedway and the championship and everything in one night, and a bonus that they had because I'd won a race there previously that year. And so that was a big night, money-wise, and accomplishment-wise. So, it was so there's several of them, as you go through, and look back. But that deal at Eldora last year was special for all of us.
Hey, Dale, how was it running on the dirt on Bristol? I've heard a lot of stories about that.
It was quite unique, simply because the track was so fast. It was banked, and so we had some things we were going through. Up there, problems with centers of the wheels breaking out and things like that, simply because the amount of force on things, and but it was awesome. At that point in time, we were racing in front of 50,000 people, for that inaugural event. And so to see that kind of crowd, and I think there was like 186 cars there or something to try to make a 24, 26 car field, so it was, that size of event, when you can have success, the success that we had there and come out with a win, makes that deal really special.
Well, I know that's a fun track to drive on PlayStation, I can tell you that.
Especially when you can hit the reset when you make a mistake.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
No, you just set it up on beginner and you just bounce off the walls.
Try to do what Carl Edwards did a couple of years ago at Kansas.
There you go.
We've been talking to Mac Daddy Dale McDowell as a part of the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series. Dale, we appreciate your time. Best of luck. What's your plans for 2016 now that I think about it?
Plans for 2016, I think I'm going to race a little bit more. We're doing a lot of stuff with driver development stuff over there at Team Dillon Racing, so that thing's going to make a little bit of a change. I think Shane and I are going to get to race a little bit more next year and still do the development stuff, but get out and race a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to 2016.
Well, if I could put a bug in your ear, there's a little race we've got over here. Usually it's about mid-July, right?
Yeah, 21st, 2nd, and 3rd of July, $40,000 to win the silver dollar this year, Dale.
All right, I'm going to try my best to be there.
All right, we're waiting for you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Have a great holiday
Dale.
season. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, happy holidays to you guys as well.
Thanks, Dale.
So again, that was Dale McDowell. Mac Daddy is a part of the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series. Love talking to Dale. That was a good conversation. He was a good talker. I liked Dale. We'll come back. We're going to take a quick break. We're done with the show, I guess. What am I talking about? Turn number 4 was brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. All the football action for NFL and NCAA, you can catch it in the Brickyard all day, every day, as it is football season, and we are in hot pursuit of bowl season here right at the end of December. So get to Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Want to say thanks to Kosiski Auto Parts for bringing us the Legends of the Dirt Series and letting us talk to Dale McDowell. Obviously, thanks to Joe's Karting for everything they do for the front stretch. And, this is the last show of 2015. Can you believe it?
Just like it just started last week.
Doesn't it feel like that? Before you know it, you're thinking, can race season get here soon enough? And then all of a sudden it's gone, and now we're talking about 2016. Lonnie Jensen will be joining us next week. Then we'll have a couple of guys in studio following week to talk about Bob Trossel, Danny Lasowski, Clayton Peterson Jr., Jim Wilson, and more still to come as a part of the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series. We're gonna end it up for the rest of the year. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back in 2016 next Sunday to do it all over again. Thanks for joining us. This has been The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.